Hello everyone, myself Mohammad Rameez and I welcome you all on behalf of Saraswat International Academy. My subject is Social Science and today we are going to learn the part 5 of chapter number 9, that is Forest and Wildlife Resources. Students, up till now we have learned about the wildlife diversity of India, and we have also seen that there are many of the species of animal which are endangered. So for that, different programs have been taken by the government. Different projects are started by the government for the protection of that endangered species. So for the same, for the protection of the animals, the sanctuaries, national park and bioreserves are being created. So we are going to learn about in today's session about Sanctuary National Park and Bioreserve. See, Sanctuary National Park and Bioreserve are established for the protection of wildlife. So we all know this. We have done this in the ninth standard also. That Sanctuaries National Park and Bioreserve are being set up for the protection of wildlife, and you can also say of the biodiversity. All these three words are synonym. Synonym means sounds same. It is like having the same meaning. What is the purpose of all these three? To protect the wildlife and biodiversity. Now let us be familiar with them. So first we are going to learn about the sanctuary. See, first point, human activities are permitted within certain limits. So here the in the sanctuary, the human activities are permitted. Here the domesticated animal can go for grazing. Farmers can visit this place. So here the human activities are permitted. There is not restriction on human activities over here. Now see the second point. Domesticated animal can be allowed to graze after due permission from the authorities. So by taking the permission from the authority means the person who is having the power over there in that sanctuary. So first the permission is been taken, then the domesticated animal can allowed for the grazing over there in sanctuary. Now, see the third point. Wildlife sanctuary is established for the protection of some species. For the protection of some species of animals or flora or fauna, this wildlife sanctuary has been established. The sanctuary can be established by the government after certain process. Okay, after fulfilling some of the provision and certain processes, the wildlife sanctuary can be established. Now we are going to see some of the examples of the wildlife sanctuary. Periyar, Chandraprabha, Eturnagram are the some of the famous sanctuaries of India. So here we complete about the sanctuary. We get an idea about sanctuary. See, here the human activities are permitted, but certain limitation is there. Domesticated animal can do the grazing, but a permission is allowed. Permission should be taken from the authorities. Wildlife sanctuary has been set up for the protection of some of the species or some of the species of flora and fauna. But here also the sanctuary can be established by the government permission after fulfilling some of the certain processes. Then the sanctuary can be established. Examples you can see of some of the famous sanctuaries of India. This question can be asked for 2 marks. Now we are going to see the national park. Now national park is having a more wide scope comparatively to the sanctuary. See, compared first point you can see compared to the sanctuary, this is more protected zone. Compared to the sanctuary, here there is a more protected zone for the wildlife diversity. See, in the second point you can see there is a complete ban on animal grazing. In the sanctuary we have seen that the animal grazing are allowed by taking some of the process permission from the authority, but here it is a complete ban on animal grazing. Now see the third point, it is not centered around one species as it is in the sanctuary. In the sanctuary they have the focus to protect any of the one species, and here you can see that more than one ecosystem included here. It means that here, like unlike sanctuary, it is not centered around for one species. Here you can protect more than one ecosystem in the national park. Now see the fourth point. It is established through the coordination of state and central government. So here the national park is been set up by the contribution, by the coordination of both the government, state government and central government. Now see the examples of some of the famous some of the famous national parks of India: Kaziranga, Corbett, Belvedere, Marine National Park, Gir, Dachigam. So these are the famous national parks of India. So again we will see national park. National park is comparatively more protected compared to the sanctuary. Here there is a complete ban on the animal grazing. Here not only one species is protected but more than one species or ecosystem has been protected. It is established by the coordination and cooperation by the state government and central government. Both are giving their contribution in the setup of national park. And here the examples are given about some of the famous national parks of India. This question can ask for 2 marks. Now we are going to learn about bioreserve zone. So here bioreserve zone, you can see it is formed according to the international norms. International norms here, UNESCO international laws are implemented over here. National park and sanctuaries are run by the guidelines given by our Indian organizations, by Indian authorities. Here, if the bioreserve zone is there, then there is a international rules that have to be followed. See the second point. The purpose is to protect the physical and cultural diversity of any region. So here it is said that the purpose of bioreserve is to protect the physical and cultural diversity of any region. The bioreserve protects insect, birds and animal, land of that area, and even the lifestyle of the people living there. Now fourth point, special arrangements are created for research and training about bioreserve. So the government here conducts the programs for encouraging research and training about bioreserves. Fifth point, in such proclaim area, the area which is declared for the bioreserve zone, in that area all external human movements, the entrance of the human are totally restricted, are totally prohibited. No one can enter over there. Now see the next part. In the sixth part, the average area of such zone is larger than 5,000 square kilometers. So you can imagine that how much big area is above bioreserve zone. Now in the seventh point, you can see some of the example given of the famous and important bioreserves of the nation, of our country: Nilgiri, Gulf of Mannar, Great Nicobar, Sundarban, Panchamadi are the considered as the important bioreserve zone of the nation. Now see the 8th point. The run of Kutch of Gujarat was declared as the bioreserve zone in which year? In the year 2008, for the protection of its special environmental condition. We will revise once again about the bioreserve zone. So comparatively to the sanctuary and national park, bioreserve zone is more protective for the wildlife diversity also, and about the ecosystem. Here animal, flora, fauna all is protected. See the first point, it is formed according to the international norms. International organization, that is UNESCO, it gives the norms, and according to that norms you can run the bioreserve zone. Here the physical and cultural diversity of any region is protected. Third, vegetation, insect and land of that area and the lifestyle of the people living there are protected. Fourth point, here the government is allowing for doing the research and training about the bioreserve. In that particular area, all external human movements are totally restricted. The persons who are living there their presence is allowed, but the external human interference is not allowed. Now see the 6 point average zone. How much area? 5000 square kilometers. Here in this 7 point, the examples are given about some of the famous bioreserve zones of India. And about Gujarat, the run of Kutch of Gujarat was declared as bioreserve zone in the year 2008. This question can come for 2 or 3 marks. So students, up till now we have seen about what is sanctuary, what is national park, and what is bioprotection zone. So in the sanctuary we have seen that domestic animal grazing are allowed. Human can approach to this sanctuary, so restrictions are less. And in national park, comparative to sanctuary, there is more restriction. And in bioreserve zone, it is the most protected area, and there are more rules and regulation. International norms have to be followed for the bioreserve zone, and land of around 5000 square feet is required for the bioprotection zone. So there are more restrictions and norms in the bioprotection zone. So now we are going to see the number of the sanctuary, national park, and bioprotection zone are there in India and Gujarat. So you can see in India there are 531 sanctuary, and in Gujarat there are 23 sanctuaries. National park, in India there are 103 national park, and in Gujarat there are 4 national park. In bioprotection zone, that is also called as a bioreserve zone, in India it is 18, and in Gujarat it is 1, that is we have discussed right now, run of Kutch. So you can see from the numbers itself you can see that sanctuaries number are much more because there are less restrictions, and bioreserve numbers are less because we require a big space of land, 5000 square feet, and there are international norms have to be followed, so the number of the bioreserve zone are less. Now we are going to see the conclusion about what we have learned till now about the wildlife diversity protection. See the first point, development process is inevitable, but along with it is necessary for that we keep in mind its ill effect. Ill effect means negative effect on the entire life system with while planning. So here it is said like that as the population grows and the world expands, economic development also increases. So development is like necessary, but it should not be cost at the cost of the population and on the nature. Development should be done, but its ill effect should be less, and it should not harm to the environment, and it should not use the resources in more excessive manner. Now see the second point, whenever one species of animals is completely destroyed or in danger, then the result of the disturbance, there will be one species is destroying, then it effect are going to come on the whole food chain. Now see the third point, in the food chain every insect has a specific role that we have studied from the primary standard, that each and every animal have an important role in the food chain. If a life is lost, if one of the complete species is destroyed, then the entire structure experiences disturbance. If one species is removed, if one of the any of the species is removed, then the natural system will break down, and it will affect it far impact will come on the human being itself. So we have to understand this thing. Again we will see that when any of the one of the species is destroyed in the food chain, its impact are going to come on the human being at the end. So we have to understand the importance of the food chain, and we have to preserve each and every species. Now see the fourth point, those environment dangers which we are following are the result of carelessness development before decades. So in the last, if you will talk about one decade is equals to 10 years. So if we talk about last 40-50 years, For the development, human beings are being greedy and they have destroyed many of the natural resources. And its impact, we have seen that animals and flora and fauna are in danger. So if we plan development, if we want to develop the plan, there will not be any problem. It means we have to do the development, but it should be in a plan way. Friendly approach with the environment should be there in the present day. So here the conclusion is that development is necessary, but it should not be at the cost of any of the species. We should not destroy any of the species because its impact are going to come on the human life. We should do the development, but our approach should be friendly with environment. We should not destroy the environment. Human beings should not be greedy and should not do the development at the cost of the environment. So yeah, this is the conclusion thing of this. Now we are going to learn about one animal named Hanathro. This animal live in the arid and semi-arid region having alkaline forest and grassland, desert or semi-desert area. So this we have discussed in the chapter number 8, that semi-arid and arid region are the region where there is a desert soil, and in the desert soil the alkaline is used to be there, and this Hanathro animal stay in this desert and semi-desert area. I have added the image of this animal so you can get more idea about it. Where it is found in the India, it is found in the greater and smaller run of Kutch of Gujarat. I told you in the first point we have seen that it is found in the desert area, and it is also found in the Narayan Sarovar sanctuaries. Now see the third point. It can be identified as it is slightly taller than fox. It is slightly taller than fox and has a fleshy round mouth and has a high ears. So from the image you can locate this, that identify that it is having a more height, taller from the fox, have a fleshy round mouth and has a high ears. So you have to know what are the features of this animal. Now see the fourth point. It hunt smaller birds and animals. This animal hunts the what? Smaller birds and animals. Its existence can be known by its footprints. How we can know that this animal is not extinct and it is exist? By its footprints. So this question can be asked about the Hanathro animal for 2 marks. Now our new topic is dugong. This is an aquatic animal. It is seen in very small numbers along the western seacoast of India. Where it is found in India? In the western seacoast of India. Image I have added. Now see the second point. Besides, it is also found in the seacoast of East Africa. In the India we have seen in the western coast it is found, and in the other part it is found in the seacoast of East Africa, Southeast Asian seacoast and northern coast of Australia. So these are the areas, these are the region where this dugong is found. Now see the third point. Seagrass and vegetation is its main food. What this animal used to eat? Seagrass and vegetation, but occasionally it also eat aquatic animal. Occasionally, sometimes this animal also eats the aquatic animal. Main food is seagrass and vegetation. So occasionally it also eat aquatic animal. Now see the fourth point. It is widely hunted for its meat. People do hunt this animal for its meat and fat. Earlier, dugong was found frequently along the Gujarat coast. This we have seen in the earlier point that it is found in the western coast. So before time, this animal was frequently found in the Gujarat coast. especially along the Saurashtra coast, especially in the Saurashtra coast, but today it is rarely seen in Gujarat coast also, but now it is not morely seen in the Gujarat also. So about this animal also can be asked for 2 marks. Now exercise question is here. Students, you have to write this exercise question in your notebook. The extra questions which I am giving you related to topic that you have to learn, as you all are knowing that now you are in 10th standard, so you have to learn everything, but exercise questions you have to note down from in your notebook.